Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 190 of At Odds with Wrestling. Joe and Adam here. Adam, hello.
Hello, Joe. How are you?
I'm excited. I'm excited for today's show.
You're excited. I'm sleepy. I was up until like 5:30 in the morning last night trying to get a free agent in fantasy baseball.
Well, that sounds worthwhile.
I gave up around 3:30 in the morning of just sitting there refreshing my phone. So I set a timer on my phone for 30 minutes and then I went to sleep. And then 30 minutes later, I'd wake up to see if waivers went through and it didn't. And I just kept on hitting repeat on the timer. So I kept doing it until around 5:30 in the morning. But I got him, Joe. I got the person I wanted.
Okay.
But I'm tired right now.
Well, I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah, I know.
I didn't know you could still do drafting in the mid-season of the baseball.
No. It wasn't drafting. It was just, long story short, it was just I released a guy and then I was like, fuck, I need that guy. And I can't place a waiver claim because I was the guy who dropped him. But I didn't want to wait until the afternoon when I woke up because then somebody else might get him. So I wanted to grab him before anybody else did. It was a big thing.
What's the prize for this fantasy baseball?
First prize is like $300.
Okay.
And pride, Joe.
And pride, sure.
Yeah. But there's like first place, second place, third place, all that stuff. I put more work into fantasy baseball than I do my real job.
I would say there was a time where I used to put a lot, that much time in the organization and cataloging of my comic books.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just have Todd come over once a year and sort my stuff. That's my system.
I currently have 5 short boxes up here in the office that need to be put down with the rest of this stuff. And it was about a year ago, relatively soon here, that we had the yard sale, and I got rid of a ton of stuff. Usually I try to cycle out a bunch of stuff once a year. Obviously the pandemic put a limit on that, and then last year I got rid of 3 long boxes worth of stuff. I'm just get it out of my house, price to move,
Oh yeah, I remember the big purge, the comic book purge of 2021.
Yeah. Well, it's I'm overdue for another one, but I just don't have the sort of time to devote to it,
Yeah, well, I hear you.
Yeah. Well, enough about this. It's time to get into wrestling. That's what we're here for. And we're starting things off.
And now, At Odds with Wrestling presents This Day in Wrestling History.
And Adam, this may be the biggest This Day in Wrestling History in the history of This Day in Wrestling History.
Oh, geez. I got to get you some censoring, and not censoring. I got to figure out how to make you more brief with these things.
Well, so here's the thing. There are times where I eliminate stuff, and there's quick hitters. There's stuff that's in here that's going to be quick hitters. Okay.
Okay.
But when you hear the stuff that's in here, you're going to 100% understand why it's in here. Okay.
All right. I'm holding to it.
Just as an example, throwing this one out here, This Day Wrestling History 2011 was officially TNA becoming Impact Wrestling.
Okay. I mean, an interesting little tidbit.
Yeah.
But it could have been skipped.
Right. That's it. I mentioned it. We're moving on.
All right.
Rarely do we talk about birthdays, but on This Day in Wrestling History, 2 notable birthdays. This Day Wrestling History 1946, Andre the Giant was born.
Okay. All right. I'll allow it.
And also on This Day in Wrestling History in 1986, my friend Grant, Danny Havoc, was born as well.
Oh, look at you, sliding your friends into the pod.
Well, listen, sadly, Danny's no longer with us, but he was, one of my, I would say, favorite commentary partners, only because the other ones don't listen and the other ones know they suck. But we're going to put a pin in 1986 and come back to that later.
Okay.
This Day in Wrestling History, 1989, the film Roadhouse opened up nationwide, starring Terry Funk.
Did he have top billing on that?
In the version that I have, yes.
Have you seen or have you commissioned yet a recreation of the movie poster with just him, where Patrick Swayze's not even on it?
I am now.
All right, Roadhouse.
Also, so on this day in wrestling history as well, we go by air dates for these sort of things. 1990, Mr. Perfect defeated Tito Santana in the finals of the vacated Intercontinental title tournament to become the Intercontinental champion.
Okay, vacated from Warrior, right?
From Warrior, correct.
All right.
Also, and again, on this day in wrestling history, NWA held the Capital Combat pay-per-view. And again, it's a mixed bag. You have Mark Callis taking on Johnny Ace. Paul Ellering taking on Teddy Long in a hair versus hair match. Again, two bald-headed men in a hair versus hair match. The Rock and Roll Express versus the Freebirds in a corporal punishment match, which was a strap match. But the problem was, when you think a strap match, right? You have an idea in your head of what those straps are.
Okay, sure, yeah.
Whoever was in charge of getting the straps for this particular strap match went to a local S&M shop, and they were very different straps. But this particular event, Adam, is most noted for this moment in wrestling history. And again, there's going to be a lot of audio in this episode.
Horseman, you said you were going to take me out. You said I'd never wrestle again. But you made a big mistake when you started messing with the little stingers. So now the time has come. And Flair, if you think you're invincible, think it over, Creed.
That's right, because Sting was injured and he needed protection from the Four Horsemen. He called in, as they said on TV, his good buddy RoboCop.
My earliest memory of this, I didn't see it when it was live. I didn't see it probably for 10, 15 years after it happened, but I remember going to rent, old WrestleManias and Royal Rumbles or whatever at a local video store, and there was always one or two random WCW tapes, and this was one of them, and I was like, why is RoboCop hanging out with the weird clown-faced guy? That was Sting.
Right. And again, also on this day in wrestling history, 1991, WCW holds the first Super Brawl pay-per-view. It's a really good pay-per-view, actually. A lot of good matches on there, a lot of bad matches on here. There's a babyface Steiners versus Sting and Luger match. That's awesome.
Okay.
There's an Elegante versus Sid stretcher match where it's Sid's last match in the company before he leaves to come to WWF, and he refuses to do the job in a stretcher match.
So how does it end?
One-man gang and Kevin Sullivan come down and attack Elegante, and Sid just walks away.
Oh, all right. Sounds about right.
Okay. Also, this day, wrestling history, 1996, WCW held the Slamboree pay-per-view, which they did the Battle Bowl Lethal Lottery match, where it was definite random tag teams, wink, wink, not rivals being tagged up together, and full teams being kept together. And somehow there was multiple double eliminations to go to a battle royal, where DDP, who was feuding with the Booty Man after Johnny B. Bad quit the company a few months prior, won the Battle Bowl ring, a precursor to the ring that MJF wears. So this pay-per-view sucks, is really bad, but it's the last pay-per-view before the NWO stuff.
Okay. I'm looking at, there's like 75 matches on this page.
There's 16 matches on this card.
That's too much.
Speaking of which, on this day, wrestling history, also in 1996, there was a house show at Madison Square Garden that had such matches as Hunter Hearst Helmsley pinning Triple H, Shawn Michaels defeating Diesel in a cage match.
Hunter Hearst Helmsley pinning Triple H?
No, I'm sorry. Hunter Hearst Helmsley pinning Razor Ramon. Sorry.
Okay.
Pinning Razor Ramon. Shawn Michaels beating Diesel in a steel cage match. This was the curtain call.
Oh shit. Okay. I know that thing.
Okay. So again, May 19th, a lot of things are happening on this day in wrestling history, and we're not even close to being done.
All right.
So we're hopping around, okay? 2002, we have the Judgment Day pay-per-view. This was like the Raw branded one where or no, this wasn't a Raw. They were still there was the brand split. They were still doing like across things on the pay-per-views, right? This was Undertaker beating Hogan for the title. This was Edge beating Kurt Angle in the hair versus hair match.
Okay.
And then you have like Paul Heyman and Brock Lesnar taking on the Hardys, stuff like that. But Eddie Guerrero, Rob Van Dam, again, there's good matches on this pay-per-view. The Edge versus Kurt Angle stuff is really good, especially the weeks of TV when Kurt wears the wig for the next couple of weeks.
With the headgear, like the Steiner headgear.
Right. Also on this day of wrestling history, 2013 was the Extreme Rules pay-per-view, right?
Mm-hmm.
Again, not a great pay-per-view, but Dean Ambrose beat Kofi Kingston for the Intercontinental title.
Okay. United States
title, sorry.
Yeah.
You had the other Shield members taking on Daniel Bryan and Kane. Again, fun pay-per-view for the era. WWE is starting to come into some relevancy after not meaning shit for the better part of like 7 or 8 years, right?
Yeah, and you look back at that, man, how much would you like kill for a WWE pay-per-view like that right now?
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Also on this day in wrestling history in 2006, the movie See No Evil was released in theaters, which they turned May 19th into an angle. If you remember, Kane would go crazy whenever anyone would say May 19th, or he would see the words May 19th.
Okay, let's not spoil. This might be my show homer tonight,
All right. This resulted in a different Kane who looked like the old Kane in a shitty wig. Definitely not Gallows, who came to like taunt Kane. And then they had a pay-per-view match, and then that was the end of fake Kane.
That's a shame.
Did I mention there was an era of WWE where it didn't mean a shit?
Yeah.
So we have our 1997 head-to-head Raw and Nitros, right?
All right, let's hear it.
Nitro's still an hour because it's being preempted by the basketball playoffs. Again, it's a ho-hum show. There's a Ric Flair versus Sean Waltman match that goes less than a minute. The show closing angle is Eric Bischoff cutting a 10-minute promo before he's attacked by Sting, and that's literally the end of the show.
Sounds good.
Right. Over on the other channel, though, the Distinguished Competition, Raw is 2 hours. We have King of the Ring qualifying matches. Hunter Hearst Helmsley, who had lost the week prior, is back in the tournament and defeats Crush. He's replacing Vader, who was not medically cleared. But not so much on the wrestling side, it's more the promo side of things, right?
All right.
We have 2 very famous promo moments.
We are gonna find out once and for all if Bret the Hitman Hart can get beat like a man. Because Bret, believe me, you couldn't go 10 minutes in any situation, if you know what I mean.
Tell me.
Oh boy.
And
listen here,
even
Shawn
though,
Michaels.
even though lately you've had some sunny days, my friend, you still can't get the job done. The Heartbreak Kid coming off a knee injury, you coming off a knee injury, they're all handcuffed. Hitman, I'm gonna knock you down and drag you out.
Okay,
So that's the infamous Sunny Days promo from a definitely not inebriated Shawn Michaels.
Hey, you take that back.
So this was, and again, doing my research, because King of the Ring is coming up. The match that we end up getting is Shawn versus Stone Cold when they're both the tag team champions.
Uh-huh.
This promo was to set up Bret versus Shawn with the members of the Hart Foundation handcuffed around ringside, and that if Bret lost this match, he could never wrestle in the United States again.
Oh, man. That would have been great.
It's not this backstage incident at Raw. We're still a couple weeks away from them having their pull apart. Now, but more notably, and this is one that I was waiting for. And listen, if this was a different show, I'd play the whole goddamn thing, right? This was the first of the Jim Ross sit-down interviews with Mankind.
Oh, all right.
We're just a couple of weeks off the ones that they did with Dustin and Terry for the Goldust and Marlena stuff. And I don't think a lot of people remember those ones as much. But these Mankind ones are fantastic. I'm biased. Mick's my favorite guy. He was my favorite guy. And for them to be acknowledging his past characters, to showing the, like, because, you know, if you were a tape trader back in the day, you'd always get, or like you'd see on somebody's list, the loved one. And it'd always be like a 19th generation copy of Mick's Home Movies doing Dude Love, right? But here they're showing like as clear as a copy as you can get from like a 1982 VHS, you know? And getting to see like this side of Mankind, and this is them essentially doing the Mankind face turn, right?
Yeah. And like letting him stretch his wings as like just a better overall character, you know?
Yeah. And it ends up being real weird too, because I forget if it's 2 or 3 parts, but like at the end of the last part, like Mick like attacks JR and then like kind of says like he's hurt real bad, he needs help, and walks off. And then the next time he's on TV, he's just a baby face. So
he knew like what JR would do down the road. It was an early receipt.
Right. And I know a lot of people are joking around that saying that AEW needs to do a version of these with Danhausen. And if it means Danhausen gets to curse and or attack JR, then I'm all for it.
All right, I like it.
All right. So last but not least, Adam, and again, I tried to breeze through this as much as I can. On this day in wrestling history, there was another Madison Square Garden show in 1986. Okay.
Doesn't count, but go ahead.
Oh, well, listen. And again, bear in mind, it's 1986. We're fresh off WrestleMania 2. Okay.
Yeah.
And we're still running Madison Square Garden shows with no Hogan on top. Okay. Doing matches of like Hercules Hernandez against CV Offie, the Hart Foundation in singles matches, including Jim Neidhart going to a 20-minute draw with Jim Brunzell.
Oh, it sounds great.
Bundy taking on Tony Atlas.
Yay.
And so on and so forth. But Adam, the most important thing that happened on this, and I would say maybe the most important thing in wrestling history, okay? It's one of those wrestling mysteries that need to be solved. And it happened before the Dan Spivey Paul Christie match. Okay?
Uh-huh.
Let's see if we can get this loading here. Come on. God damn it, Bix. It's his tweet. Am I having connectivity issues?
I'm sure we'll fix this in post.
No, it's all staying in.
Just
okay.
That out.
So if it starts playing, it starts playing, right?
Yeah.
So before the match, Howard Finkel introduces into the ring Grammy Award-winning rock and roll lead singer of Van Halen, Sammy Hagar.
Except if my memory serves me correctly, it wasn't Sammy Hagar.
Sammy Hagar looks like Dana Carvey in a wig.
Right.
And I wish, and like there's people that like did the history, you know, because they were in the area that weekend, but it very obviously wasn't Sammy Hagar. But like it's MSG. How did this guy get like past security, convince someone in charge that he was Sammy Hagar, get into the ring, and get the mic, get an introduction and the microphone from Fink? How does all of this happen?
Well, there's no internet, you know? It's like if you're just a guy that works for WWE, you're probably not hip to the rock scene. You know, it's not like you can pull up Sammy Hagar on your phone. You know, you might not have a copy of like Jump laying around somewhere to look at the liner notes.
They were a year and a half off of being the Rock and Wrestling Connection.
Yeah, but that wasn't really rock. That was like Cyndi Lauper.
I guess.
Who can we in person? Let's just show up to a WWE show and say we're somebody. We could try this out.
It's tougher at a WWE show, okay?
Yeah.
I think if we go to a house show, and this is, I've joked about this, but WWE runs a little tighter ship, okay?
Uh-huh.
If you go there wearing a black polo and sensible slacks, carrying a box or a tote or something, and just say that you're a ring crew or you're with the building or the whatever, you could pretty much get in. And again, I say this, so Joey Schutz of Kayfabe Collectibles, right?
Sure.
This was years ago. So NXT is going to start running house shows again in Florida. But this was when NXT was on the road, right?
Yeah.
And they were somewhere in like upstate New York where Joey was living at the time. And he just went there and he was actually wearing a Ring of Honor polo that he had gotten from someone. And as he was just there hanging around, he was approached by multiple people from the building asking him if he was security. And, listen, Joey looks like a normal dude. He's got longish hair. He's got piercings. He's got a beard. He just happened to be wearing a black polo and like jeans, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But you could probably get away with this at most indies. I'm not saying that you should, but I'm just saying that you could. Show up with a roller bag, carrying a box, a tote, or something like that.
Yeah.
And you can get in. It's very easy.
All right, listeners. This is called it's like a Joe Sposto challenge. Go ahead and do it. Let us know your results. Send pictures. But all right, cool. Sammy Hagar, WWF superstar.
Yes, and I'm goddamn pissed that the video didn't work. Anyway.
Thanks for nothing, Bix.
I agree.
God.
So anyway, let's get into wrestling this past week, as opposed to like years and years bygone. Where would you like to begin, sir?
You're sure you're done with this day in history? Nothing else.
All right. You're asking me. I'm looking.
All right, now fair enough. I just want to make sure you have enough time.
Curtain call. Yeah, we're good.
All right, fair enough. All right, Joe. Obviously, I think this is the thing that a lot of people are talking about. Something happened on Monday Night Raw this past week involving the women's division. There was a lot of internet buzz about it. It was very polarizing. A lot of people are big mad about it. There's obviously the stands are coming out defending it, but then people are also attacking it. And obviously, it's a huge story, so we have to start with it. And that is the fact that once again, Alexa Bliss has a new theme song. Which, I mean, I know that I said before we got on the air that I did not have a no heat, all heaters or whatever segments, but I'm mad about this. I talked about it last week that they were this close, Joe, this close to getting it right with her. And then they went and fucking gave her a completely different song. But also, I guess something happened with Sasha Banks and Naomi. They walked out or whatever, but not nearly as important as the Alexa Bliss thing. But I do have some thoughts on Sasha and Naomi, but I don't know if you have anything with that.
I do.
No.
So obviously we haven't heard their side of everything, right? But there was rumblings as it was happening,
Uh-huh.
And obviously one would assume that it was creative, that there was a concern with, as it typically is in World Wrestling Entertainment. And this is where things kind of, at least what is public, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Raw's not even over yet. Not even done. And WWE puts out a press release. When Sasha Banks and Naomi arrived at the arena this afternoon, they were informed of their participation in the main event of tonight's Raw. During the broadcast, they walked into John Laurinaitis' office with their suitcases in hand, placed their titles on the desk, and walked out. They claimed they weren't respected enough as tag team champions. And even though they had 8 hours to rehearse and construct their match, they claimed they were uncomfortable in the ring with two of their opponents, even though they'd had matches with those individuals in the past with no consequences. Monday Night Raw is a scripted live TV show whose characters are expected to perform the requirements of their contract. We regret we were unable to deliver as advertised tonight's main event. So many things about this statement, okay?
Yeah.
How many times in the past has WWE advertised a main event and not had it happen?
I mean, lots of times, yeah.
Thousands, right?
Yeah.
The fact that they come out and they say Monday Night Raw is a scripted live television show and the characters are expected to perform the requirements of their contract. Okay.
Yeah.
And then the bit of that they had 8 hours to rehearse and construct their match. Boy, they have to get to the building real early. And again, I don't think even because, and again, you hear stories that people got to get to the building like around like noon, 1 o'clock. Okay. And Raw goes live at 8. So I don't think they were rehearsing and constructing the match the entirety of those 8 hours. You get to the building, you say hi to everybody, you find your space in your locker room, you go to the meetings and everything else like that, right? Mm-hmm. And then they claimed they were uncomfortable in the ring with 2 of their opponents. Now that is a sneaky scum fucking line to put in there, because that says, without saying it, that Sasha and Naomi think that Becky and Asuka and Doudrop and Nikki, almost a superhero, to say these names into a microphone, are like unsafe, right?
Yeah.
And obviously Sasha and Naomi have been quiet. They've just been, posting out whatever. You get a few likes here, and then all the dirt sheet stuff rolls out, okay? That everyone's like, good, everyone in WWE is like, no simpy, there are problems all the time, we have no whatever, they're always pains in the asses. Then there's people outside of the company, whether it be AEW people or independent wrestling people, sending text messages to people, essentially saying, I don't know Sasha, but you do. Tell her I'm proud of her and anyone that would stand up for themselves like they did. Now, again, I may have had, and again, Sasha, okay? So it was Sasha and Naomi. Let's not think that, like, Sasha was the one in charge here and she has some sort of spell over Naomi, right? There was periods of time where Naomi wasn't on TV because she also has been vocal about her position on the card, her placements, and so on and so forth. And if World Wrestling Entertainment is a live scripted television show, then these characters should just do whatever they're told. But it's not a live scripted television show. It's professional wrestling. And this is how Vince tries to separate themselves from all this shit, right? And the story that's going around, and this is unconfirmed, is that the idea was that Naomi was going to win the match, and she was going to wrestle Bianca at the pay-per-view, and then Sasha was going to wrestle Ronda Rousey. Okay?
Okay. So
the 2 tag team champions were going to wrestle the singles champions, and they were going to put them over at the pay-per-view, right? Mm-hmm. Sasha and Naomi's thing was like, hey, we're the tag team champions. Like, why aren't we setting up a program with, like, it's already been teased on TV that we're going to be doing a deal with Nikki and Doudrop. Why don't we continue that and have a title match at the pay-per-view, right? Mm-hmm. So this is one of those things that Bruce Pritchard always says, that, like, you can't just say, I don't like this idea. It's always good to come back and say, well, what if, right? What if we do this instead? And that's allegedly what Naomi and Sasha did. And they were told no. So they left. And I know Sasha gets a lot of heat because of her fan base and the fact that she's allegedly anti-vaxxer. But I hope the precedent is set and more people in WWE stop being bootlicking cowards and stand up for yourselves.
See, oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, especially if you're in a position where you're a champion, you're a featured performer, you're a pushed character, that you don't just get shuffled to the side and make yourself look lesser, whatever that is. And obviously, to say no to everything is one thing, but to come with a different idea and kind of be collaborative is what you need to do. But if more people stood up to Vince, stood up to WWE, and their agreed upon shitty creative, maybe things will start getting better.
All right, so I'm listening to everything you're saying, and you're making a lot of valid points.
Right.
I came into this, and I still am leaning a little bit towards this, that I'm on WWE's side on this. And This is going to sound very rare, to me, to defend them at all. Obviously, I've said many, many times that it's a dog shit organization that's being run into the ground by terrible decisions. But with that being said, I just don't like the idea of it's just setting the precedent of, especially since she's somebody who's done this before, who's gone boo-boo face that she didn't like, when she was going to drop the tag belts last time, whatever it was. I'm of the mindset that I don't know. I'm trying hard to articulate it. She's only going to hurt Naomi, because like you said, Sasha Banks is an established star, like a top name. No disrespect to Naomi, but if somebody's going to take the fall for this move, it's going to be her, because Sasha is maybe a notch higher, at least as a singles performer,
Sure.
As one of the 4 horsewomen, whatever. So I don't think, man, it's in my mind, it's it's a repeat offender. It's somebody all right, you're paid to do a job. It's not like there's going to be this coup, it's not like all the wrestlers are going to rise up against Vince McMahon and Kevin Dunn and Nick Khan and just all of a sudden take over the company, because it's not going to happen. They're going to just replace them. They show with all these rounds of releases when all these relatively big names are being released, time after time, and they just replace them with another nameless, faceless person down at the Performance Center, that it's all right, if you don't want to do what we're asking you to do on a national stage, all right, we're just going to wait until your contract ends, or maybe just release you, and then we'll just have this other person do it, and the WWE stands will just gobble it up. Because Sasha Banks, at the end of the day, doesn't mean anything to these people that have the Sasha Banks 724-168 fan at twitter.com addresses, because they'll just change it to Nikki Lyons if the WWE tells them to. So it's nothing's going to, if this is an instrument of change, I think you're kidding yourself. Nothing's going to change. All you have is a repeat offender who took her ball and went home, and might be getting somebody who, isn't known as being an anarchist backstage, getting them in trouble. I just think that you're being really optimistic about what this was. It's not going to result in any kind of positive change of the product, or making it so that all of a sudden, Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn, can really just go out there and riff more, and they don't have to go by scripts. It's not going to result in any of that. It's going to result in tighter rules and people being told oh, you're going to get fined if you don't, show up for the matches or whatever. I just think you and I have completely different, views of this situation. I mean, if it resulted in WWE becoming better, great. I'd love it, because it's unwatchable at this point. But I don't think that's going to happen.
WWE is not going to change from this. And all the points that you made are valid. But the thing is, if someone like Sasha decides to tell Vince to stick it up your ass, and she never wrestles again, she's in a Star Wars. She's a Boba Fett. Sure, she can make convention money and never take a bump for the rest of her life.
Let me just say this roughly. Do we have any idea? Because again, I'm not on Twitter. Is Sasha Banks 5 years away from being a free agent, 2 years away from being a free agent, whatever? Is there any idea of how long she's signed with WWE from this point? Has that come up anywhere?
No clue.
So let's just say, I'm just going to pick a random thing and say she has 4 more years on her deal. I don't know. I'm just making that up. WWE can then say, well, guess what? You're not going to be in any more Star Wars things until the end of your contract.
Okay. And they certainly can. But if I'm Sasha Banks, I still tell WWF, go fuck yourself. These are, no matter how long these contracts are, there are essentially 90-day rolling contracts that you could be released from your contract at any point in time.
Yes, but you can't, like, as the person who signed, it's always been established that these contracts are super in favor of WWE, because WWE could at any point could be like, go fuck yourself, you're fired. But as a performer, you generally can't be like, I quit, I'm going to go elsewhere, because they're just going to say, no, you have a contract. And obviously there are some people that quitting has worked with.
Right.
But then there's people like Ali, where it didn't. But if she just said, I don't want to be here, I quit, the WWE doesn't have to be like, okay, you're released or anything like that. It's within their rights. And I hate the fact that I'm sounding like I'm defending them, and maybe I am, but like for them to say, okay, for the next 4 years, because again, I'm making this up, for the next 4 years, you're not going to any conventions, you're not doing any podcasts, you're not doing any wrestling shows, or we'll hold you in breach and we'll sue the shit out of you. And maybe she's willing to fight, and become the poster child of this.
Yep.
But at that point, like, she would be legally in the wrong doing any of that stuff, and it could cost her, Or I don't know. I'm just thinking of like the consequences here.
Or it could be the catalyst that more people do exactly what like Tony Storm did. You mentioned the Ali thing. Ali was sitting at home, was not on the road, was not on house shows, not being used. And he essentially said, if you're not going to use me, let me out of my contract. And they essentially told him no. They still sat him at home for another couple months, and now they're finally using him. Tony Storm, on the other hand, was being used, was on TV, and then just one day said, fuck it, I'm going home.
Yeah.
And she went home. And you know what they did? They let her out of her contract. Jeff Hardy, arguably one of the biggest names in WWE history, right? Future Hall of Famer in whatever metric you want to put on that. In the middle of a match at a house show, said, fuck this, I'm done. Walked out, refused to take a drug test, and they let him out of his contract.
Yeah.
It can be done.
It absolutely can be done. There's no consistency as to what works and what is allowed and what doesn't. I'm just saying it is completely possible if WWE wants to be spiteful, and far be it for me to assume that anybody in that organization is spiteful, but they can make an example of her as like, this is what happens to dissidents. Like, you will not get anything you want and we'll just punish you. And like, I can see that happening.
And I'll say
again,
they didn't do it with Tony Storm.
Yeah.
They didn't do it with Jeff Hardy. Notoriously, two not big mouth, loud mouth malcontents.
Yeah. But
by your own admission, Sasha is a big mouth, loud mouth malcontent.
Yeah.
That's so if she decides to tell Vince to stick it up his ass, and they say, we're going to play hardball with you, what do you think she's going to do?
Oh, I mean, she'll get loud and obnoxious too, but I'm just saying she legally wouldn't have a leg to stand on. Jeff Hardy, has had many strikes in his career, but as you said, he's a legend, so he gets a little leeway. Tony Storm, I love Tony Storm, but the WWE didn't really see a ton in her, and like, she wasn't a malcontent, so they're like, all right, whatever, go ahead. But Sasha Banks is somebody, like I said, who has a history of being a problem and isn't a surefire Hall of Famer. I don't care what anybody says, so it's like they take things on a case-by-case basis. And like, I just, yes, if she wants to be a martyr for the cause of workers' rights, she might well be on the case for that, or on the path to it. But if her goal is, I'm just going to keep on rattling cages until I become a free agent and show up on AEW one week, I don't think that's going to happen, because I can see them just being spiteful and being like, guess what? You're spending the rest of your career at home. Hopefully they don't forget about you. Or not the rest of your career, the rest of the contract at home. I don't know. It could go either way.
We're going to revisit this, I'm sure, again in the near future. I'm sure.
Yeah. And like I said, I didn't hear anything. And again, my knowledge of wrestling might be a little smaller than yours, Joe. I don't know if you're aware of this, but like, I didn't know of any issues with Naomi backstage. Like maybe they were there, but they weren't as well known as the Sasha Banks stuff with the, going home with not liking that she was going to drop the belts, the anti-vax stuff, whatever. If Naomi was like generally a good citizen, I would hate the fact that she might become the person taking the brunt of the punishment. You know, like Triple H getting punished after the curtain call, since we brought it up earlier in the show. You know, something to that effect.
Oh yeah, that punishment that he had.
I know, the alleged punishment. He was in freaking pay-per-view top programs for a while, but you know what I'm getting at, or just flat out being jobbed out and whatever. You know what I'm getting at. Anyways, that was a lot of talk about Alexa Bliss changing her theme song.
Jesus Christ. What else? Anything else you want to talk about?
I will just say, since we're dunking on women's wrestling, I just want to talk a moment about that great promo with Serena Deeb, where she's coming out and she's like, "Hello, I'm Serena Deeb." I know that's not the accent, but it was just as bad. But like, I just want to point out that Serena Deeb is so bad currently that she makes Dustin Rhodes look bad in that segment. And Serena Deeb is so bad at what she's doing that she makes me not care about Thunder Rosa as champion. And I was watching that segment and I was thinking to myself, like, do I miss Riho versus Nyla Rose at this point? Like, is it that bad? And it made me think of, like, there was a time when AEW had like a very passable Britt Baker. Anna Jay was contending. Remember when Tay Conti, the face of women's wrestling?
The face?
The face was just like a viable top contender, and she was just doing murders every week, and it was awesome. Like, how does this company get a lot of the things with the men's division so right, but so much of the women's division wrong? And at this point, like, I just want to see them just give Hot Goldberg both the belts and just have her squash people from week to week, because at least that's done right. But yeah, I just, that Serena Deeb promo was just really, really bad. And if we still did dislikes, that would be dislike number one.
Well, speaking of Jade Cargill, Hot Goldberg, fan of the original Evil Dead movie, I could send you the 6-month booking sheet that myself and the board put together to have her become the double champion and a baby face at the September pay-per-view. But all right, that's fine. Right. So the Serena Deeb promo was bad. I'm not sure why she was doing an accent for some reason. It could be of maybe she's just hears it all the time in the house that she lives in with her boyfriend. Serena Deeb's promos have worked in a produced fashion, not in front of a live crowd. This was a rare misstep with this program, and I'd like to think that they're not intentionally sabotaging Thunder Rosa's reign. But the fact that we have a lot of the other Japanese talent back over, your Rihos, your Maki Itos, your people like that, hopefully we can get some new contenders, get Thunder Rosa on TV more often, maybe have 2 wrestling segments on a Dynamite. Let's go crazy. Yeah, but I don't know. I'll never forget, like, Tom, friend of the show, Tom Green, has ruined this for me. A few weeks ago, he had tweeted out that his son told him, Noli said that Serena Deeb looks like she smells like piss. So every time I see Serena Deeb now, I think, oh, she smells like piss.
Oh, that Noli, man, he's got a mouth on him. That kid's got to get reined in at this point.
Well, listen, he's going to beat the shit out of Filthy Tom Lawler at a Black Label Pro show, so just watch yourself. So speaking of Dynamite, speaking of things that were good, hey, that Hangman Page versus Takeshita match was unfucking believable.
Yeah.
Like, that was a match that would, like, if it was on a pay-per-view, people would be like, holy shit, that was like the best pay-per-view match in forever. And they just threw it on free TV. Now, I did see Takeshita before on an episode of Rampage, maybe like a week or 2 ago, where he took on Jay Lethal, and Jay Lethal's good in the ring. Not great. He's good. He's not the electric performer, and has the same crowd behind him that Hangman Page does, of course, because of the champion. But I didn't notice in the Jay Lethal match, but I definitely noticed in this match. This Takeshita kid has got something. He's got size. He looks like he could probably play middle linebacker. Her Division III team. He's only 26. He's charismatic. He does a lot of cool shit. I hope he stays over in the United States for a very long time. And I'd even tweeted at someone when like they had the same thought I did, that they should have him win the TNT title and just defend it every week. And have like these 10-minute banger matches on TV every week.
Yeah, I'm all for it. I know that he had the match with Jay Lethal, but I skipped it. So this is the first time I was seeing him wrestle. But like you said, it was just like it stole the show. It was out of nowhere. Like it wasn't one of those announced matches that they do where you're like, oh shit, I got to check this out, just because I wasn't familiar with his work. And I'm like, you know what you're getting with a good Hangman match. So it was like, all right, it was fine. So I feel like the first third of the match might have just been on in the background for me. And I'd catch myself looking up and be like, oh shit, a bunch of times, to the point where it caught me. And like you said, I definitely want to see more of this guy. And forgive me, I know I am a Japanese wrestling expert, but this must have escaped my extensive notes. Like, is he from like New Japan, All Japan, something like that? Or like
he's from DDT.
DDT.
And he's a Kenny guy.
Oh, okay. All right. And is he just doing spots, or is he signed by AEW?
I haven't seen a Takeshita's All Elite graphic. I think he's just over here on what they call Excursion.
Yeah.
But hopefully they get him to stay, and do something with him.
Yeah, no, I mean, I after watching that match, I'm like, all right, I want to see him against this guy and this guy and this guy, so that's a good problem to have.
Yeah, I say, like, I know they're doing Hook and Danhausen versus Smart Mark and Tony Nese on the buy-in. I say throw a Takeshita match on the buy-in.
Yeah.
Put him in there against someone, give him 7 good minutes, and just like light it up, man. Let him go crazy.
Yeah, I mean, anybody from like Dante Martin to freaking Eddie Kingston, even, just whatever. It would be exciting.
Yeah.
All right.
And I'm not familiar with them either, but a lot of the people that I follow on social media were very excited that this match was going to happen. So I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to make sure that I have an eye toward this. I'm very unfamiliar with this wrestler. And listen, I'm woefully ignorant when it comes to Japanese wrestling.
Shame on you.
But this guy was awesome.
Yeah. I'll send you some of my notes of some of his earlier work from my extensive Japanese wrestling notebook.
Right.
Yes.
Anything else we want to talk about from this last week in wrestling?
Nah, I'm good.
All right. Well, it's time then for...
Homework. It's an obligation you owe your family and yourself. Homework. Homework. It's an obligation you owe your family and yourself.
All right, Joe, you assigned me homework, which was a recent AIW show, Cybernetico de Mayo, which aired on May 5th of 2022 and is currently available to stream on Jerry's Independent Wrestling Emporium. Here's the thing, Joe. I just watched the main event. I skipped all the undercard stuff. I apologize. I didn't have time. A lot of good people on that undercard, but I was just like, all right, person I like versus person I don't know. Tag team I like versus tag team I don't know. And plus it's at the Winchester, and I'm like not really in the mood to get to know anybody at the Winchester. So I skipped it. So I went straight to the Cybernetico. I don't know if you have any thoughts or feelings on the opening matches that you want to talk about, but I'm out for those.
Yeah, I do. And again, shame on you. You get an incomplete for your homework.
That's fine. It's going to go against my permanent record.
Right. Maybe I think I should take your assignment away from you this week and take it over for you.
Oh, as if we weren't going to assign the same thing, but that's fine.
Shut up. If you didn't get a chance to watch the show, or you didn't get a chance to watch the whole show like Adam, head over to our friend Kevin's blog, maskedlibrary.com. He does a full write-up for all the shows that we end up assigning for homework. But I won't spend a ton of time on this, but I do have notes. And again, I apologize for being like a lot of them. So again, most of my notes sadly are negative.
Bury him, Joe. Bury him all.
But it's nitpicky stuff, right?
Yeah.
So the opener is Cheech and Colin versus members only. They had been building this up on social media. And this is something that I've actually talked to Thorne about is, the old Smart Mark DVD days, Jesus Christ, where there would be like a couple day turnaround on these shows getting out. So people would have time to film promos. That would go on the DVD to hype up the matches themselves, or people would, while Smart Mark is there, film stuff that would go out to hype up the next show. Okay. Yeah. And at the end of the show, Dom cuts the promo that hypes up the show that's this weekend. But I'd mentioned to him that he needs to get in people's ears, like especially on show days. If you have that skeleton, that fishbone for next month's card, get Smart Mark or the IWTV people to film a bunch of shit while they're there, to get it out on social media, to get it out on YouTube, to get it out on whatever, so it's done, and kind of just get ahead of things at the next set of shows, right?
Uh-huh.
And I'll be honest with you, there were times where there were people like Smart Mark Gary and Shannon or me that would kind of help facilitate that, So I completely understand, but it's definitely something he's working on, okay?
Yeah.
So this match was good. Colin and Cheech win. I had an issue. I don't know the ref. He's one of the new refs, but especially in the closing stretch of the match where like all four guys in the ring, the ref just kind of gets out of the way and like makes no attempt to be like, to show that he's lost all control of things, right? He just allows all four guys to be in the ring. The refs either need to do a better job of at least pretending to control the match, and again, it wouldn't be that big of a deal because AIW has such a strong tag team division, just to allow, a 10 count like AEW unofficially does for like instead of a 5 count, right?
Yeah.
Because very early on in AEW, they said it's a 10 count on tag matches to get out, not a 5 count.
Okay.
And it's just something that's just never really been enforced, but they said it. I remember, right?
Yeah.
Jeffrey John comes out, the Babushka Baron. It's his debut in AIW, and he makes an open challenge. Isaiah Bronner comes out, squashes him in about 2 minutes, makes the challenge for Eddie Kingston. And contrary to Joshua Bishop's belief, there was not a "please come back" chant for Jeffrey John. Next up, we have the debuting team of Money Shot, Elijah Dean, and Zach Nystrom taking on the Von Englands of Eden and Sydney Von England. Mm-hmm. So Tom Dunn is the referee, and I know Tom's a listener of the show, and I give it, then I take it away. Tom needs to have the referees watch this match to see how Tom works. Like when he sees the double team's about to happen, Tom is the one who makes the move to the other corner to kind of call the other person in to cause the distraction, and let the heels do stuff behind his back.
Yeah.
Instead of just standing there and letting it happen.
Plus Tom's big and scary, and they're afraid to piss him off,
There was a part there at the end of the match where Sydney had one of the other guys in an ankle lock, and they came in to break up the pin break up the ankle lock by just like diving in. And the way that they dove in, if Tom, and as you said, Tom's old, but if Tom did not have very good reflexes, this person would have crushed Tom jumping into the ring.
All right.
That being said, Money Shot has like a look, but like the fact that their name is the like Money Shot, they don't really play up that aspect that much. Like they have matching jackets, they got matching gear, but they just are guys, right?
Yeah.
So they need like a different name other than Money Shot, or they need to like sleaze it up a bit if they're going to be Money Shot.
Okay.
Speaking of gear, I mentioned that Money Shot has matching jackets. Eden and Sydney need to have matching gear. They have matching-ish gear, right? But Eden's gear is so much better than Sydney's, it makes Sydney's look shitty by comparison. Eden comes out, she's got this awesome jacket on, she's got the full wrestling boots on, and all this other stuff, and then Sid comes out, no jacket, he's wearing a shirt when he wrestles, he's got plain black tights, he's got little shooter boots on and no knee pads, so he's probably a pervert. Because if you wrestle in shooter boots and no knee pads, you're probably a pervert. That's just the way it goes. But they need to coordinate. Either Ada needs to drop the level of gear that she has, or Sydney needs to increase it, because they're like at very disparate ends of things to be a tag team, right?
Like meet in the middle somewhere, right?
Yes. And this is my thing. Most of my comments are about everyone's gear. Next up, we have Riley Rose versus Johnny Patch. Riley Rose has a thing. His finisher now is the Texas Cloverleaf. He's Irish, so it's like it's a little on the nose, but he does it like the old Jericho Lion Tamer, where he stacks the guy up in a Texas Cloverleaf. So that's pretty fucking awesome.
Yeah.
Johnny Patch was really good. He kind of looks like 90s era Johnny Swinger.
Okay.
But his gear is loose and falling apart. He needs new tights.
We're just gonna change homework into like gear critiquing.
It is what it is. 9 to 5 taking on another debuting team, the Bang Bros, Austin Matthews and Davey Bang.
I tried Googling more about Bang Bros, and
you
what
did?
came up was not this.
What you need to do is you need to Google their finisher, which is called the Bang Bus.
Oh, okay.
Right. They do a bit in the match where Davey drinks a Bang energy drink and he starts to freak out and everything, and he's running wild on both of the guys, and then he tries to run wild on the referee and they stop him because it'll be the disqualification, and then he picks up his partner and uses his partner as a weapon. Fun spot, kind of redeeming for them. The first time that I saw these guys was in a Black Label Pro show where they just got smeared by Dom and Kevin Koo. So 9 to 5 was up. 9 to 5 is a winning streak. I don't know if that means we're going to get 9 to 5 versus PME somewhere in the near future, but that's what it looks like it's built into. Before the main event, we have Katie Arquette against Jocelyn Navarro. Again, it goes to show how far these two have come working together. For there to be the rivalry, there needs to be a little bit more heat between the two of them, I guess, instead of just telling us there's a rivalry. It's a weird fuck finish with the referee and an eye gouge and a roll up. Katie gets the win, which is fine to continue this rivalry. But I just think if there's supposed to be a rivalry, the two people involved need to be more heated. Okay. So then we have our main event, the Cybernetico. I say Cybernetico, they say Cybernetico. I'm not going to go over the rules of the Cybernetico because they go over the rules ad nauseum during the course of the match.
Yeah.
The match was perfect. The match itself was perfect. Nitpicks that I have about it was commentary was very too concerned about the outside tags, right? Yeah. The more you call attention to it, the more I'm going to notice them fucking it up.
Yeah.
So and just be oh, they went to the outside, it's a tag. Well, it's well, a foot and a half went out there, but not his whole body went out, so I don't know if that constitutes as a tag. He went out, it's a tag.
Yeah.
You're doing a detriment to the thing, right?
I'll let you bury the match in a minute. I'll give you a break real quick, and I'll give you my little recap of the Cybernetico.
I got one last thing to say, and then you can go, since that's the only thing that you watched. Was they could have shaved a couple minutes off this by doing the ring introductions as they were doing the entrances, because they did their entrances in their batting order. Then the Duke cut a promo, which was fine. I'm all for the Duke cutting a promo. Then Steve Guy went through each individual person in the batting order, which we already saw as they came out. We could have consolidated these two things and shaved about 7 minutes off the runtime of the show.
Yeah. And with that being said, and I'll mention this in a minute, the match itself did not feel overly long. I did the gimmick where I scrolled through looking for the main event on Jerry's Internet Wrestling Emporium, and when I found Jocelyn Navarro leaving the match, I was like, okay, the main event's about to start. How much time? And it's over an hour left, and I'm like, holy shit, this is gonna be unbearable, just for somebody who doesn't like watching a lot of wrestling. But it flew by. It did not feel like it went over an hour, which is about what it did. So Team Carrington, Casey Carrington, Brian Carson, the Bitcoin Boys, the Duke, PME, and Derek the Director Dillinger versus Team Dom Guarini, Bulking Season, Weirdster, Wes Barkley, Josh Bishop, Kaplan, and Chase Oliver. All right, so right off the bat, the Weirdster is in the ring. He does like the weird ball thing. The heels are confounded. They're basically cycling through their order, trying to figure out a way to get him out of the weird ball. However, the weird ball is no match for the Duke's Haasness. The Duke is able to break that up. Team Carrington basically takes turns like beating down Ambrose, and he gets eliminated. Quickly after that, Brian Carson gets eliminated, and then chaos breaks out. Like everybody's, fighting the ring. Clemens losing control. First of many times this evening that he's either losing control or distracted. Eventually he gains order, though. We have the Duke versus Wes Barkley for a while. Eric Taylor and Mikey Montgomery giving Josh Bishop all that Bishop can handle. Bishop just outmatched. He needs somebody to save him. The crowd is chanting, Artie, Artie, Artie. Bishop, he needs somebody who can just save his ass. He makes the hot tag to Artie finally. The roof comes off the Winchester. He comes in. There's a real cool spot where Artie escapes the full Nelson with jumping jacks. Marino and Chase eventually have probably the best exchange, like as far as just technical high spot wrestling of the whole match. That was really fun. Kaplan versus Dillinger, they just beat the shit out of each other. That was a fun little like one-on-one matchup during that. Mikey Montgomery's in the ring facing off against Artie. Basically Artie yells, "Get my dumbbell." And the entire babyface team has to like team up to pick up Mjolnir and get Thor's hammer into the ring. Even Josh Bishop, so-called tough guy, can't lift it up. He's all about putting the weights to bed, but he can't put that dumbbell into the ring. But yeah, just fun comedy stuff with like only Artie is able to lift up the dumbbell. I was hoping that the spot where Mikey like lifted up the dumbbell and fell backwards and kind of had his hands trapped under it, that would have been a fun way to get a pinfall, but it wasn't meant to be. Artie gets eliminated by PME with the Sunset Dreams, sad face, and then they quickly also eliminated Chuck Stone. At this point, I just want to point out that very much of the commentary earlier in the match pointed out that, hey, the heels are like cycling through their team over and over and over again, which was effective, with eliminating Weird Body. But like the faces were very fresh. Like they weren't cycling through. So people like Dom, people like Bishop, people like Barkley weren't getting utilized a lot. So they were fresh and they were able to go longer in the match. So I think I like the way that was pointed out, and I like the way it was done in the match. We have Dom versus Carrington. Casey gets intentionally DQ'd for a low blow, which was kind of smart heel thing to do. You want to take out one of the heavies on the babyface team. You're not necessarily eliminating them from the match, but you're weakening them by like hitting them in the dick. So Carrington's eliminated, and in a great Duke move, the Duke is now the captain. He already had an armband on standby, which I thought, like, even in a world where wrestling isn't predetermined, if Duke was a real life heel, like, which he is, but if he was playing, like, if the Duke was a real person who was like manipulating things to become the leader of this, of course he would have an armband that says he's the captain. Like it just all makes sense. So I love that. At this point, Dom is just taking a beating from all the heels, makes a hot tag to Oliver. Ziggy goes and distracts Clemens. Again, just Clemens being easily distracted. Duke uses the Haas boot to eliminate Oliver. And basically, and again, I just want to do this bit by bit, but Team Carrington is just doing rapid tags and just chopping down Kaplan. And eventually, Dillinger eliminates Kaplan. Deep breath. All right. So we're down to PME, the Bitcoin Boys, the Duke, and Dillinger against just Dom and the Rip City Shooters. Wes Barkley defeats Montgomery with a Maserati driver. Clemens distracted again, misses a hot tag to Bishop. Bishop eliminates Eric Taylor with the Black Hole Slam. Then he eliminates Philly Collins with the Bishop Bomb. The Duke eliminates Bishop via the Duke driver. I will say that again. The Duke eliminates Josh Bishop via the Duke driver. So big shocking win there.
Yeah.
Much
so
deserved.
I'll just interject there. Shocker. I
Yes.
audibly gasped when that happened. Like, no chicanery, no hook in the tights, no boot, no nothing. I'm like, holy shit. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I can only imagine like seeing that live, what that must like. Oh my God.
So Marino had Wes dead to rights, decided to go for radio silence instead of the pin, and ends up getting eliminated when Barkley eliminates Marino. So we are down to the final four, which is Wes and Dom versus Duke and Dillinger. Dillinger defeats Wes via the same sequence that he used to finish off Kaplan, which was kind of like that like sunset power bomb into the turnbuckles.
Yep.
It's the second time he uses it in the match, and that might pay off kind of later on. It might happen again, but second time he used that sequence. The Dom taps out the Duke. Again, I don't know why the Duke tapped out, because Dom's chokes don't look that strong. I don't know. But we have Dom and Derek basically slapping the shit out of each other. Like, it was very much like Samoa Joe versus Minoru Suzuki. You know, it was just slap, slap, forearm to the fucking jaw, slap, slap, just real stiff shit, real fun. And then Dillinger does that sunset flip meteora combo to Dom, but it doesn't work on Dom. And it's kind of like, okay, this has worked twice in this match and it was effective both times, but Dom was able to counter it with a triangle choke. And I guess that didn't lead to the finish, but like Dillinger eventually passes out to like an armbar. Wasn't really sure to what like he passed out. So that finish wasn't clear to somebody like that without it being told by commentary. So, but like obviously Dom wins, ends up, winning the longest match in AIW history. And it is announced afterwards that Dom will face Broski for the AIW title at the next AIW show, Gauntlet for the Gold. So before I throw it over to you, I'll just say my notes didn't do it justice, but this Cybernetico was very much a series of like a lot of really good one-on-one matches and a lot of really good tag matches. And like, I enjoyed this, and I've seen a couple of Cyberneticos, not nearly as many as you or many of our listeners, but compared to some of the more recent ones that I might have seen, this one I liked because it wasn't, hey, let's all just do our spots and let's make sure we tag in spot, and then get out. This was very much like there were stories in there. There were stories of like, Dillinger doing his spot and then it not working on Dom, and just like the baby faces being fresher and the heels doing things to like the low blow to Dom. We need to weaken Dom. He's the guy we're most worried about. So we got to do whatever we can to weaken him. And like just the story of it all paying off in the end. I very much enjoyed this match. It did not feel like it was an hour long. It did fly by. And there was something in there for everybody. Like I said, there was like the high spot matches. There was the Duke shocking the world. There was the comedy stuff with Bulking Season. I very much like this.
Right. And again, don't take my nitpicking at the beginning of this to deter from the match. This match is awesome for many of the reasons that Adam mentioned. And this is not a knock on the heel side, but this was the babyfaces match. Every single one of these babyfaces got a moment to shine, to show what they can do. In like this big main event position, whether it be Bulking already got to do the dumbbell bit. Chuck Stone got to do arguably his best hot tag in all of professional wrestling. Kaplan got to look like a maniac. Wes got to go through his 90s WCW offense and it looked picture perfect. Yeah. JB got to look like a beast. Dom got to look super strong coming in there, and Chase Oliver got to do, and again, he was probably the one that got the least because the building of the Winchester, the ring at the Winchester is so bad, and he's a high flying flippy dude, but he still looked great. And Weird Body, again, the bit at the beginning of him doing the weird ball and them the heels going through their entire batting lineup twice before trying to figure out how to get in there was like so smart, so genius. Like in the story of the match. And I really like this. Definitely go out of your way to watch just this match if you can, especially before the show this weekend. And I think, Adam, since you did not watch the full show, I'm vetoing your homework this week. And instead of whatever you were going to assign, Everyone has to watch AIW's Gauntlet for the Gold when it goes up live on Jerry's Internet Wrestling Emporium.
Oh no, I don't want to have to watch Gauntlet for the Gold.
Now,
right.
I cannot stress this enough. Okay.
Yeah.
This show is not live. Okay. It's going to be live to tape. The IWTV people are going to get this up there pretty quickly. I'd say it's probably going to be up there Sunday afternoon. I'm putting the timetable on them because that's what they've done before with the Akron shows at the Tadmor Shrine. Okay. This is Dom versus Broski. The belts are on the line. It's Dom's hometown. There's a battle. There's a Royal Rumble style match, Gauntlet for the Gold, with random draws. And that's the main event of the show, the Gauntlet. The person who does not come out the champion of that match is also going to be the Gauntlet as well. Stay off social media. You will be spoiled by the results of this show. There are things that are going to happen on this show that people are going to be talking about. Do not ruin the show for yourself. Mute the hashtag. Mute the usual suspects who tweet about the shows as they happen live. And go into this when it goes up on Sunday afternoon as free and as clear and as clean as you possibly can.
Yeah. I gotta stay out of the stupid major group. It's either going to be people celebrating or
for
crying.
A million other reasons, but this is number one.
Yeah.
And yes, they're going to spoil it there too.
Yeah. 100%. They spoiled the freaking NWA title win like a month before like aired. You know?
Well, Broski fucking had the belt with them like the Monday taping of the podcast. I don't want to fucking hear that.
Yeah, still.
Anyway.
I will
this, like I said, the Cybernetica was great. I've seen 05, 06, 07, 08, 09, 10, 11, 12. I've seen at least, I've called at least 8 Cybernetica matches, and I would say that this one's probably in the top 3.
Yeah. I like it a lot.
Yeah. There is one that I have, and this was something that I had pitched a long time ago. No, it wasn't this. It was in a Cybernetica. It was a Gauntlet for the Gold type match. So never mind. I won't even say that. It's 2 different matches. But yeah, so this match, go out of your way to watch at Jerry's Internet Wrestling Emporium. Get a chance to watch this before Gauntlet for the Gold goes up live on Jerry's Internet Wrestling Emporium this weekend.
Cool.
All right, Adam, let's get into voicemails.
All right.
Got a bunch. First up, Dwayne.
Hey, guys. Dwayne in Missouri, calling in with my weekly SmackDown time. It was 20 minutes and 56 seconds, and I'm not sure how that happened because the only segment I watched again was the Baron Corbin Madcap Moss thing, and boy, I put a lot of hope in Madcap Moss on my call last week. Kind of embarrassed, but, you know, I had my hopes up. Again, don't know how I went almost 21 minutes. It got to the last segment, and I did slow down and actually take in a couple of minutes of Randy Orton and his bro, and I still don't understand who's challenging for the tag titles, because last I knew Roman had sent his cousins to get the other titles, but now Orton and his bro are demanding a match, so it's very confusing since I don't watch the whole thing, and I'm guessing would be confusing if I did. Chat with you next week. Bye.
I'm trying to think if I watched SmackDown at all. Like, I feel like it was on my DVR at one point, and it's currently not, but I don't remember whether I deleted it or if I watched anything. What did you watch on there, Joe? Maybe it'll refresh my memory.
Okay. So my time for SmackDown this week was 9. I'm doing my gazintas, excuse me.
Okay.
Let's say on the generous side, I did 12 minutes, right?
Okay.
Legally, I have to watch the Lacey Evans promos.
Oh,
I watched the full Madcap Moss segment, which was odd that they like stretchered Madcap Moss out. I think this is like them rebranding him or rechristening him or giving him new gear or something. And I watched the Ronda promo because there were people online saying like, "Oh man, there's gonna be a big title match on SmackDown this week." And there's a Ronda promo, and Ronda cuts like the dullest of dishwater promos. She issues an open challenge, and it was against Raquel Rodriguez. So I'm like, I'm not watching this match. But there was a bit backstage where Shotzi was complaining to Adam Pearce that Raquel Rodriguez, whatever, pushed her out of the way because, it was an open challenge. I was on my way there, and Raquel just cut in the line in front of me. And then Aaliyah showed up and said, "No, you couldn't have because you were too busy locking me in my locker room because I was on my way to go there." And I'm like, oh, that was like an inventive thing. Like, because in the world of wrestling, when there's an open challenge, like, why doesn't like everyone just rush out all at once? Why isn't it like a mad dash? Like, there's an open challenge for an actual real title, and one person comes out to music where it's the 24/7 title, and there's a group of like 50 guys all vying for the 24/7 title, right?
Yeah, like there should be like at least once a shot of Gorilla, like at Gorilla, of like a bunch of people running in kind of like a Three Stooges thing where they're all trying to wedge through the door.
Yeah.
Not that there's a door there, but there's a curtain. But imagine like a door frame where just like somebody manages to get through first.
Yeah, so I did about 12 minutes on SmackDown this week.
All right. I think I might have, if there was a Roman promo, I watched that. That's about it.
Nah, I love Roman, but I'm not inspired. They're angling that they're going to do a singles match because Dwayne asked about how that's going to work. It looks like they're looking to do a singles match, maybe on pay-per-view, not on pay-per-view, but on TV of like Roman and fucking Matt Riddle of all people, right? Because like 2 weeks in a row, Matt Riddle got over on Roman and he's beat both the Usos in singles matches.
Oh, they're giving him the shove.
I guess. I don't know. Call me when you get to Randy Orton versus Roman Reigns. I don't give a shit about Matt Riddle versus Roman Reigns.
Yeah, I don't give a shit about Randy Orton either, but still, different reasons.
Oh, how dare you. All right, next call.
Hello, at Odds with Wrestling, the home of Awesome MacArthur's voicemails. Don't have much to say this week. I only have a couple things. First and foremost, if you're in the immediate area and you can make the drive, head out to Gauntlet for Gold. It's going to be a great show. And we're not streaming live, so it's a live experience only. So if you don't catch it live, you'll have to catch it, on the replay. But otherwise, our opponents for that show are the Bang Bros. And that got me thinking. I want to know, what is Joe and what is Adam's favorite source of caffeine? So I got to tell you, this Bang, 300 milligrams of caffeine? I don't know. I don't know how the kids do it these days, trying to give themselves heart attacks, like, come on. That's really all I got. I can't really make it all about me, All right, you guys have a great day, and hope to see you there Saturday, Joe. Wink, wink. Nah, just kidding. He's not coming, guys.
Already stoking the rumor mill, if you will.
I know. I just want to say, when you look at an old timey photo and it's got like that tint to it, is that what it's called? Sepia?
Yes.
Sepia. You know how like Ed has the pink button time? Artie has the sepia button. Just saying. Throwing that out there. So, favorite caffeine, Joe? I'll let you go first. I already know what I'm going to say, but are you a caffeine drinker?
Yes. I have a very serious addiction to caffeine. At the house, I drink coffee. I probably go through like 8 to 10 cups of coffee a day.
Okay.
It's a lot. When I'm on the road, obviously, or during like the summer months, right? Obviously, I'm not on the road very much these days. There is a Monster Energy Zero Sugar. There's an orange. I think it's called like Ultra Sunrise or something. And there's a lemon as well. I don't know what the lemon's called, but usually I'll go to Sheetz or whatever, and they're like usually like 2 for $4, and that's what I get for like my road trips.
Yeah.
But coffee number one. And do I have a preference on coffee? Not really. I like Dunkin' Donuts coffee better than Starbucks. I think Starbucks coffee is way overrated, and I think Dunkin' Donuts coffee gets a bad rap.
Starbucks coffee is like just undrinkable. If I'm falling asleep driving down the turnpike and my options are to get a Starbucks or drive into the freaking railing, I'm taking the death. Like, that's how bad Starbucks coffee is. I'm a Dunkin' guy. I don't drink fucking 5, 6, 8, 9 cups like you do a day, but I'm like a full like extra large Dunkin' every single morning on my way to work. Energy drink wise, sometimes, like if, like you said, if you're driving, you need a little bit of pick me up, and nobody's holding. You gotta get the energy drink. But like, I'll get whatever is there. I don't have a favorite energy drink, but yeah, Dunkin' all day, every day. And I'll see you this weekend, Artie. No, I'm just kidding. I'm not coming, but wish I was.
You'll see him when you look in the mirror.
Exactly. But yeah, good luck with Bang Bros.
Yes, I didn't know where Artie was going with that one. I know what he's up to. You and him, the two of you together.
All right.
So next call, we have the aforementioned Kevin Hellions.
Hello, Joe, Adam, Kevin here. Feeling quite good this week, actually. Quite smart, quite intelligent. I feel like I've been predicting this stuff for a while here. Kind of feel like the amazing Kreskin. Joe, you have a better knowledge of comedy history. Adam needs it explained. I trust that you would do that for me. Thank you very much, by the way. So why do I feel this way? Well, because I've been saying for quite some time that I believe certain things to be true in WWE, and this week it looks like it's true. Sasha Banks and Naomi leaving. And from the current news, rumors, breakdowns, whatever, it sounds like they were told, hey, here's what we're doing. And they said, okay, how does that help in long-term storytelling? You're just kind of doing this quickly. Are we going somewhere with it? Nope. You're both going to lose these matches. Okay. Are you doing anything with our tag team? Nope. Do you have any plans? Nope. Well, screw you then. We worked hard to do this, and you're just stepping all over it, and you have no plan, and you're just doing things on the fly booking here. And like I've been saying for months, WWE has no plan. It's just week by week, and that's why a lot of stuff sucks, and why we get excited for things in other promotions like AIW, AEW, Root Beer Wrestling, stuff like that. The second point that I believe I've been saying a lot lately is Triple H is much sicker than anyone is letting on, or that they are admitting publicly. And then the shock announcement from Stephanie McMahon today that effective tomorrow on a Friday with no previous notice for a publicly traded company that your chief brain officer is suddenly going to leave and take time with family. Yeah, he's sick. He's really sick. And she is going to be taking care of him. And I don't want to say it because say what you will about him, I don't want to say negative things about anyone, but like, he's sick, like, by the end of the year is my current thought. And it's honestly sad. And I don't want to be right about that at all to that level. But I think I'm right, guys. And it hurts me to admit that. Not as much as it's going to hurt either of you to admit that, though. Oh, geez. I'm running out of time. I had another thing there. Adam only wants me to make one call an episode. And I don't have enough time. So, Adam, I guess next week I'll give you my sign-in stuff for Tony Storm's OnlyFans. Sorry, if I could call again, I would do it. I'm sorry, dude. Next time. Bye.
Oh, man, Tony Storm OnlyFans.
Well,
interesting.
Before we go on, Kevin calls back again.
What?
It's me again. So, I know Adam says I only can call once, but Ed said that he would sit with me and watch Ziggy Haim wrestle. So Ed wins tonight. Thank you, sir. So I'm sitting here with Declan after I made that call, and he asked me who was sick, and I was telling him the story and everything. And he made an excellent point, remembering certain other things that he has seen us discuss, me and my wrestling fans there. Maybe Stephanie is taking the time off to work on the marriage. We all pointed out that she was not wearing a wedding ring in any recent appearances. And we kind of wonder with all the stuff going on with NXT if they're stripping away Triple H's legacy. So I will throw out, thanks to Declan here, that it could also be either she's working on the marriage or they're prepping for a divorce. Oh, and I ran out of time again for you, Adam. I'm so sorry. I'll have the information for you next week. Bye.
Kevin, we talked about this. Joe, play the all heat, no heaters jingle. I'm fired up right now.
All heat, no heaters.
One call. You are allowed one call. Don't try using your kid as an excuse. That's not an excuse. One call. Thank you. That's all. Joe?
And I'll say don't make it a habit, but if you feel as though you have something that's going to go over the time limit on the calls, you could always send it to me as an MP3 or WAV file format, and I could just pretend you called in. That being said, I think calling yourself the Amazing Kreskin because you predicted that WWE creative is bad isn't the win that you might think that it is. And obviously Kevin's second call, I definitely think this is less of Triple H's failing health and more of the disillusion of Triple H and Stephanie's marriage. Listen, you saw the picture of Vince's Lively that leaked out this week. Steph's not even in there. Triple H is crossed out. I don't know if Vince knows how to put new contacts in there, you know?
Yeah. I'm surprised that hasn't picked up more traction across the dirt sheets. Like, I figured that would have, like, rocked the world, you know?
Yeah, again, Tuesday night at 10, I don't think is the prime time to tweet jokes out, but what do I know? I tried.
Yeah, thanks, Kevin.
All right, next call.
Hello, gentlemen. This is Matt from the A Show.
Boo!
Hope all is well with the both of you. Even Adam, even though he will not plug our show. Never. So two things. First, and this is not to steal Dwayne's gimmick, but I also have a SmackDown time counter for this week. And that time was 1 hour and 57 minutes because I was there. The only 3 minutes I missed were when my daughter had to go to the bathroom during Butch against Kofi Kingston. Lots of fun, and I'm glad I even got to see Sasha Banks before some stuff happened. I do have a question for Joe.
Uh-oh.
as Northeast PA's resident ECW historian. I recently watched the Shane Douglas Too Cold Scorpio NWA World Title match for the first time. I mean, we've all seen the clip a million times of Shane throwing the belt down. So, Joe, I was wondering if you know, were they told to go out there and have a stinker to try to show what they did not want to be moving forward? Because if that's what they were told, they definitely succeeded. Have a good night.
So,
Joe,
Matt,
before you go any further, I demand that you delete his plug of his podcast from the final master of this. When this goes out to air, make sure you delete that, you know. But go ahead.
I'll send it over to Jonas on vacation, and he'll edit it out just like he edits Dwight's calls.
All right, fair enough. Take care of that. And as far as the rest of his call, I'll leave it to you because I wasn't paying attention.
Yeah, so I'm glad you guys got a chance to go to SmackDown and have fun. I'm sad that there was no LA Knight segment for those of you in the live attendance. You missed out. And as for that Shane Douglas Too Cold Scorpio match, you know, obviously everything is about the promo afterwards. And I bet if you interviewed many people of who did Shane Douglas beat for that NWA title that he threw down, I bet you like 1 out of 10 people would know the answer, maybe less than that, like on the average. But I don't remember that match being that bad, you know, having only seen it the one time back in 1994, and I saw it on TV, so it was probably clipped up. But I'm probably going to go back and watch it now to see if it stinks as bad as Matt says that it does.
Well, I'm Matt, and I went to a live wrestling show with my loving family.
Bitter Adam. All right, last call, pink button time.
Hey, Joe and Adam, it's Ed. So earlier this week, right before Pod Van Dam was recording, I was texting with Joe. One, because we're best friends, right? But also because I was complaining about how awful what the app that we use is, and that no one but Jonah can figure it out, and we were all very lost. And I told him that Skype's the way to go, apparently. Just do Skype. So that made me wonder, who do you guys think, like, the Skype of wrestling is? Like it's not the flashiest app, but, like, it's always there, and it works when you need it to, and there's never really problems with it. Because I think Tracy Smothers was the Skype of wrestling. Like, I can't think of one amazing Tracy Smothers match, but I can think of, like, every match he had was, like, entertaining and good, but it wasn't, like, spectacular. Probably because everybody on the matches before him stole all his moves. But, yeah, I think Tracy Smothers, the Skype of wrestling. Who do you guys think fits that bill? Okay, bye.
Go ahead, Joe. I can't even think of something.
I'll say Skype is easy, Squadcast, Ringer, all these other things that you have to pay money for are bullshit, and they're ripping you off. Listen to other podcasts. People that record through Discord, people that record through Google Meeting or Zoom or whatever it is, right? And I think they just recently put, like, limitations on Zoom or whatever it is. The only times in the history of doing this show, 190 episodes, of doing Longbox Heroes, 606 episodes, and Longbox Heroes After Dark, 392 episodes. I can
Porch
count.
Talk, like 12.
Porch Talk, right, in the dozens. I could count. Well, you guys record that live from the porch.
Yes, exactly. But there's times where we can't be on the porch and we have to do it over the internet.
I could count on one hand of the times that there was an issue with Skype, and of those on one hand, I would say most of them were user error. I forgot to click something, or I forgot to double check something, or I hit record before everyone was on the call and I only got 3 of the 5 people that were on the call, or whatever it was, right?
Yeah.
No fuck ups, no dead links, no bullshit. Fuck all this shit. And I like Ed's pick of Tracy Smothers. I'm torn for the Skype of professional wrestling of either Bobby Eaton or Brad Armstrong.
You know what? I'm going to have to probably, just because I think Ed would appreciate this. He would recognize where I'm coming from. I'm going to say Bret Hart. You know, it's just gets the job done unspectacularly, you know, very forgettable, but it's there. It just, you know, so yeah, Bret Hart.
If I was more motivated, I would have just put a beep over everything that you said. Or I would put over that a me doing an impression of you saying Shawn Michaels or something stupid like that.
All right, fair enough. But, you know, Ed asked me if I wanted to watch some Heat Up with them. So maybe Ed will get his the fish tank out, and maybe I'll get a couple Champion Cream Ales, and we'll meet up on Skype and do a watch along.
Oh no, get on Squad Chat or Ring Dog or whatever the fuck they use to record their podcasts. It still takes 4 days to come out. Come on, guys. Anyway, I love all you guys. You're great. All the stuff that you do is fantastic. It's great. So other things that are fantastic are Jerry's Internet Wrestling Emporium. We've plugged them enough. Watch the AIW show when it goes up on Sunday. If you spoil the show, you did it to yourself. You have no one to blame but yourself. I've given you such strong warnings. And if you're one of those people that need to know what the secrets are, my PayPal is 3guysfromnowhere@gmail.com. I will gladly tell you what the spoilers are to see if I'm hyping them up. I'm not hyping them up too much. You're going to love it. Anyway, Jerry's Internet Wrestling Emporium. Use the code @odds if you're a new subscriber. It lets Jerry know that you came to him from us, and as you continue your subscription, we get a bit of a kickback. The TeePublic sale is next week. So we'll plug the store and everything there. Why spend now? We can save 35% next week. But you could also help us out by making any and all of your purchases through the Amazon click-through affiliate link that's in the show notes to every single one of these episodes. Amazon call it an advertising fee. I call it the thing that makes Adam happy at the end of the month when he gets his cut of the fucking money.
Yeah.
Notable purchases through the click-through this week include the Skliz. That's how you would pronounce SKLZ.
Skills.
Zip. Oh, what?
Skills.
I'm pronouncing it Skliz. Zip and hit baseball batting trainer.
There's some players on my fantasy team that I wish I can send one of those things to.
Send some Skliz to your fantasy. Send them some fantasy Skliz.
Fantasy Skliz.
But yes, thank you for your purchases this week, this month, this year, whenever it is that you made any purchases. And this is what it looks like. It's like a fucking. It looks like those stretchy bands that the kids use, right?
All right, click on one of the pictures where it's in action. I want to see one of those. Oh, okay. That doesn't look like a death trap at all.
There you go. Look. Oh, it's in motion. Look at that. You can't. It's an audio podcast, right? But you're seeing it work.
Like, yeah, what I want to do is stretch a giant rubber band like 100 feet at crotch level and hope nothing bad happens.
Right. So if you use this and you have not been hit in the dick by the person who's batting, call in. Let us know how this Skliz worked out for you.
Speaking of Skliz working out for you, there's some other podcasts you should listen to.
Fair enough.
Those podcasts, I get paid by the segue. Those podcasts are Longbox Heroes, After Dark, We Need Wrestling, Hit My Music, Final Wrestling Place, Porch Talk, Viewer's Choice, WWE War, Wrestling Cheers, IWTV Guide, Pod Van Dam, Hellions Talks, Wings on Wings, and Between the Sheets. And I'm not even going to mention the show that I won't mention because the show that I won't mention got mentioned earlier, so I'm not mentioning them. But that's it for plugs.
And hey, last but not least in the plugs, we are about 2 weeks away from Real Rumble 3, Night 1 and Night 2 at the Mahoning Drive-In, and no matches or roster has been named. So I guess it's a mystery card by default. I don't know.
Yeah, you could be in the main event, Joe.
I'm not in the main event. You know what? So the only thing that I know that's happening is that me and Avery Good, professional commentator, are doing commentary on Night 1.
Oh, all right. I like one of those people.
That's the only thing I know. He's not doing Night 2. He's only doing Night 1.
All right. Cool. I will be there. I bought my pair of tickets, so I'll get my free shirt. I'm looking forward to that, and looking forward to seeing everybody again.
And I have the link to purchase the tickets and so forth in the show notes on this.
All right.
Episode. And I think we only got one more thing left to do, right?
Absolutely. Hit my music.
Some might cost a little. Some might cost a lot. But I'm the $100 Vansky. And your figures will be bought.
All right, Joe. I've been saying this for weeks and weeks and weeks, and none of y'all believe me. But we are in the year of financial responsibility. And I don't have a lot of purchases this week. I only have, brace yourself, I have two purchases. So I will go first. I will send it over to you, and then I'll do my final one if that's cool with you.
Yes, and I have your tweet about the year of financial responsibility bookmark, just so you know.
All right, I know that you're a fan of bookmarking tweets, and I see that Bix's tweet still has not loaded. So
nope.
that Spivey clip could pop in any minute now. All right, so anyways, two purchases this week. The first one, if you remember last week, I detailed my fig hunt at the new toy store that opened in Dixon City.
Yes.
So I bought a couple figures there, and that last time, and I had some time to kill before work the other day, and obviously, Joe, I have already seen everything that was in that store, so there'd be nothing left to buy. But there was something left to buy that I did not see last time, or it wasn't there. So I'm actually just going to send it to you real quick. But this is a DC Universe Booster Gold figure, which is a figure that has eluded me for a couple years. I've seen them pop up every once in a while on eBay, but the price was never right.
Oh, cool. I like that.
It has a Skeets. I have a Booster Gold based on the 52 run, like that 52 issue miniseries where he has like the logos all over his chest when he was taking sponsors, but I didn't have like a classic style Booster Gold. And once again, this was like already on the shelf, priced less than the eBay going rate was. So it was already a pretty good price, but then I was like, hey man, PayPal friends and family for this much. So he's like, yeah, all right. So I got a couple bucks off of it even lower. So I got a really good price on it. And it was something that I had wanted for a while and, worked out. So Booster Gold figure, the greatest hero the world has never heard of.
I'd be hard pressed to disagree with that statement. And that is a nice, listen, they're taunting me by showing a Captain Cold in the background there, but I'm going to guess that it's like Ice Arm Captain Cold, and that person doesn't exist.
I don't know. I gotta flip around that figure and see what the other guys that are featured are on there.
So today I had to purchase a pre-order, if you will. There was, excuse me, Pre-Eternia was tweeting out some of the Hasbro reveals and stuff, right?
Yep.
And they tweeted out the picture of the meme of Wolverine from the animated series where he's looking at the picture, and then we cut to see what the picture is.
Yeah.
And the picture that he was looking at was a Bagman figure. And I'm like, did I miss the announcement of the Bagman figure? So as I'm doing the mad scramble, you sent it in the group chat.
Yeah.
And you're like, just in case anyone wants this. Now, I will say, I don't love that it's in the old school design package.
Yeah.
But if my choices are the old school design package or the new shitty, they're in a box and you can't see what you're getting package, I'll take this.
Yeah.
And I don't have a ton of Marvel Legends, but I'm a sucker for like the weirdo Mort characters, right?
Yeah.
Like I'll buy a Gwenpool figure, I'll buy a Bagman figure, so I did the pre-order on Target for this.
That's awesome. Yeah. Going back to the packaging thing real quick, not to belabor, I remember a couple weeks ago, Hasbro announced a bunch of, or Hasbro or Mattel, whatever, whoever has the Marvel thing, they announced a bunch of Spider-Man figures, and it was like the Spider-Man Noir and like the Null, is it? The Venom God or whatever?
Yes.
So they announced those and they showed them in the boxes that don't have the windows. And I remember I showed you in the group chat and it was like, oh, this is bullshit. And when they announced yesterday a bunch of MCU Marvel Legends figures and like Captain America, and there was Sharon Carter from the Falcon and Winter Soldier line, they showed them in boxes with windows in them. And I was like, yay, they're listening to their fans. I'm super excited about this. They're going back to the windows. And then today they showed more Marvel Legends. There was a Japanese Spider-Man figure, and it was back to having the box with no window. So it seems like it's alternating. There's no rhyme or reason. Some of the Legends have windows. Some of them are closed boxes. I don't like this at all. And I agree with you. If I had my choice between a box with a window and a carded figure, I'd always want the box with the window.
Yeah.
But if it's no window box or carded, I'm with you. I would rather just deal with the fragility of what you got.
Yeah.
Anyways, but yeah, that's a cool figure. Not for me, but when I saw it, I sent it to you guys, not in a mocking fashion, but I was like, okay, I think this is up your guys' alley.
No release date on it, but that's okay. I'll get it when I get it.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, Joe, I only have one other purchase, as I said, because we are in the year of financial responsibility, but not a segment that has a jingle, but a recurring theme. It's time for us to return to the grease shelf, Joe.
Oh, boy.
I had said a couple months ago, I had talked about just discovering the existence of this item, and it is a card. I did not know that it was a thing until I discovered it on the air, and I had been clocking a couple of them on eBay, and they were going for, and I'll tell you in a second what it is, but they were like $150 buy it now, $200 buy it now, maybe $100 buy it now, and I'm like, nah, I don't want it that bad. So I was like, I needed there to be an auction. And Joe, there was an auction with a starting bid of $20.
Ooh.
And I ended up, I placed a bid at 20, but not a bid at 21, just a bid at 20. I want to make sure that my name's out there. The people know to back off. And somewhere over the course of the week, this item gets bid up to about $30. And of course, I wait until there's about 10 seconds left in the auction. I put in my nuclear option bid of like 70. And with about 5 seconds left, I ended up winning it for $31.
Wow.
And it's coming over to you. It is a 2000 WCW Nitro trading card game, Miss Hancock rookie card, graded as a PSA Mint 9. And it's coming over to you now. AKA Stacy Keebler's first ever card, possibly first ever merch. And I had said that I'd seen it before, and I wanted it, but I was not going to pay the crazy high buy it now prices. And like I said, waiting paid off because we were in the year of financial responsibility, and even the grease shelf needs to be financially responsible.
So, I'm glad that it's graded, right?
Yeah.
But sadly, that means you can't go get it autographed. But I'm sure she has a caveat like the dead man where she won't sign her rookie cards.
Yeah, I have her first WWF card from 2003, which came autographed. So I'm happy. I don't like getting a card autographed if it wasn't originally autographed, if that makes sense.
Okay.
Because there are cards that are autographed right out of the pack, and that's fine for me. But I don't like autographing. It's just like we've had this discussion before. I hate the idea of taking an old rare comic book and having the writer or creator autograph it. You're devaluing an item. You're putting it into a state that it wasn't meant to be in. So I would never get this card autographed, even on the slab. And you mentioned that it was graded. I paid $31 for this plus taxes and maybe like $3 shipping. I don't know. That's less than it costs right now to get something graded. So because right now they talk about in the major pot, it's like $50 to get a card graded right now, unless you're doing it in bulk of like hundreds. So the way I see it, this was a steal and a half.
I would say so. And do you know if it was the same seller? That was trying to sell it at 170 that ended up parting with it for 30.
I honestly didn't do the research on it. It might be because I can't imagine there being a ton of these out there that are graded. It might have just been the same guy that had it buy it now 200, buy it now 150, and kept lowering it, and then eventually said fuck it. I'd be interested because it does have a serial number right on the front. I could probably just look at save searches or not save searches, like completed searches and see what happens. But yeah, I'm happy with the price. It'll go in the detail. If I got to go to Joann's Fabric tomorrow and buy another one of those tiny little card holders, that I have in my detail. But that's it for me.
Yeah, so obviously not a purchase, but the rumored innuendo on the streets is that people who ordered the AEW Unrivaled Series 9 figures are getting their shipping notifications.
Yeah,
and that was the Eddie Kingston set.
Yeah. So possibly by this time next week, we'll have our grubby little hands on Eddie Kingston figs.
That's right. It would have been nice if those got shipped, to the Midwest area specifically before the AIW show this weekend, so people could have got that first signature from Eddie on the figures.
Yeah.
I think that would have been a real cool thing.
Well, we'll hold on to it for when he shows up at Real Rumble. I'm just speaking it into existence.
I texted the boss while we were talking. I'm like, hey, there's been no talent announcement for Real Rumble. Is this by design? And I'll probably get a message tomorrow afternoon. So follow up on that next week.
All right. But that's it for me, Joe. Nice short show this week.
Yeah. Listen, I really thought the This Day in Wrestling History was going to be like 6 hours long, but I'm glad it wasn't.
We'll save it for the Patreon.
Exactly. So thanks everyone for listening. For Adam, this is Joe. This was episode 190 of At Odds with Wrestling. Be safe out there and enjoy some wrestling.
You're listening to the soon-to-be-named network, the Lamborghini of Podcast Network.